policy as it relates to Syria. He tweeted,
Right.
Obama, do
That's
not
not what he ran on.
That's not what he ran on, sir.
Hold on, sir. Wait, let's be honest.
No, it is what he ran on. Because he ran on tweets.
He never
if you would have deactivated his
tweeted
Twitter
that
account,
when Obama
he would
was
not have had a campaign.
Wait, time out.
Sir,
If we're going to do this,
I
said the time now.
Let me go, because I'll let you go.
No, I'm saying, but you can't. Okay, go ahead. You said Syria.
Sir,
Syria first.
you asked me a question.
Syria first.
I'm giving you an answer to the question.
Right.
He ran on saying to President Barack Obama, do not get involved in Syria.
You know, he didn't say
And then he said, oh, watch how President Obama gets involved in Syria to create a distraction for his failed policies.
Right.
So he even tweeted that. When you say President Trump did not run on that, that is not genuine, because he ran on tweets. So when he tweeted something, that was part of his campaign strategy. No, that's part of his campaign strategy. He decided to get in office and go completely against everything he said President Obama should do as it relates to his foreign policy to Syria. But let me show the hypocrisy even in that. He said, he's saying to everyone, yes, Assad is evil. Yes, Assad is bad. It's so bad, we need to bomb an Assad military base. But you know what? Even though these babies are dying, because he said, oh, chemical weapons, oh, the babies, chemical weapons, the babies.
Right.
He said, but you can't come here, though. We're not allowing refugees to come into America, even though the babies are dying. But here's the stick. He didn't care. He didn't care that babies were dying. The National Alliance says they don't care that babies are dying. 400,000 people have died in Syria. Nobody cares. They care that they're dying by way of chemical weapons. That was the game changer. Chemical weapons are indiscriminate in Syria, and we have healthcare workers in Syria from the United States of America. Chemical weapons kill everybody. That's the only reason why Trump got
Here's the thing. Let me point this out. We can come back now. You can't cut me off. You can't drop the mic or nothing, all right? Here's the thing. He said about Syria, about Obama, back when the red line was on, this was 2013. Donald Trump didn't announce he was running for president until 2015. The reason why he bombed Syria was because it was to show the world, not Syria, not Assad, but the world, that there's a new sheriff in town. All right, now, you can argue with that if you want to.
No,
but look what happened. We bombed an airfield. Didn't want no casualties. Didn't want to take out nobody. It was show. Pure show. It's like a man that runs down the street, the new guy comes in the neighborhood, pulls a shotgun out in the neighborhood, pumps it twice, fires in the air, and says, I moved into this block, don't mess with me. That's what he did in Syria. Now, let's go forward now. Since then, China, he met with the Chinese president the weekend. They sat down, spent the whole weekend down in Florida. China was the only hindrance against America ever messing with the North Koreans. Yeah. From the granddaddy to the father to the son. North Korea's basic modus operandi is to say, hey, I'm building something, give me money. And every time they run out of money, I'm building another bomb, they give them money. Trump met with the Chinese president, said, hey man, this is not in either one of our best interests. You know it, I know it. To come out of a meeting on a Sunday, they move in a whole fleet to the coast of North Korea. And China has not said anything. As a matter of fact, the same time he was meeting with the Chinese president, China's coal was coming from North Korea that they send back food for the coal for. China turned the ship away. So my point here is that when you ask the question about 100 days, these are the things that are going on right now that nobody is talking about.
No,
we have a
talking about.
We have no what they're talking about.
Well, the jobs they promised.
It's 100 days.
Yeah, but still,
it's 100 days.
But
see what I'm saying? I'm saying we're asking a question.
You have a net loss, Shelley, since he's been in office.
No, you
have a net loss.
No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't.
I see your fellow Republican.
No. Don't go saying. Don't go. He's saying the truth. There's no net loss of jobs. There is no net loss of jobs. As a matter of fact, the number of people off the government dole has gone down.
Because he fired people.
No, the government dole.
You're talking about
people on government. I'm talking about government benefits.
Him cutting government benefits?
No, he didn't cut anything because there's no budget. There's no budget, so he didn't cut anything. I listen to everything you say. I'm listening to every word. He didn't cut anything. We're not going to throw out red meat for your...
Listen, we need to be able to move on to the marriage race, but I do want to ask you this. 80-some days. What's your grade of President Trump?
What's my what?
Your grade.
Of President Trump? An F- if there be such a...
Shelley?
I give him a solid B. A solid B. And I'll tell you why I give him that solid B. Because you got to understand, this guy announced in August of 15. Since August of 15, the entire Republican establishment, the entire media establishment, the entire Democratic Party obviously would be against him, but has been against him since August of 15. They have thrown everything at him. And this is not me telling...
But rightfully so.
Whether it's rightfully so or not, the fact is they've thrown everything at him. So when you say the first 100 days coming off of a campaign where the entire media apparatus...
But it's not the entire media.
It is the entire media, except for one, Fox News, and Black and Conservative Talk Radio. That exists for three people. That's three people.
Sir,
that's three people.
That's not three people. You can buy the numbers of Fox News, Rush Limbaugh, and all the conservative companies.
They're all the same people.
They're not the same.
There's a duplication of audience. Rush Limbaugh's on at 12 noon. Fox News comes on.
Just because you say it loud.
That's a ridiculous premise. That's a ridiculous premise.
So allow me to explain.
That's a ridiculous premise.
Allow me to explain. Just because the guy is president of the United States and still president of the United States does not mean that he has done something magical. It does not mean that he has somehow arrived at some nobility in his life. He won. He is the president, and he should bear responsibility. Now, my big issue, we can argue about some of these other things. All right, let me just say this one point. One of the biggest disappointments to me with this president was when he decided to coordinate with all of these HBCU presidents and trick them.
Tricked them
He
how?
tricked them. So let me explain.
Tricked them how?
The Morehouse president said, "We got it."
The Morehouse president who's been fired by the students? That Morehouse president? I'm to listen to him. I'm going to listen to him. Students were the ones who moved on the president to get him ousted.
That's another argument, if any argument exists there.
The Morehouse man back there, ask the Morehouse man.
Let's be very clear about what Trump said he would do for HBCUs.
Fair enough.
He said that money will go to HBCUs. He's going to do what President Obama would not do for HBCUs. You know what he actually did? I interviewed Omarosa on the air. Omarosa promised that there was money coming to HBCUs. When that budget was final, there was $0 extra allocated to HBCUs.
Here's the thing.
But, wait a minute, I'll let you respond. I'll let you respond. And he actually took money away from HBCUs.
No, he didn't.
Let me explain how he did.
No, he didn't.
Anybody ever heard of Uncle Bound?
Yes.
Anybody heard of Uncle Bound?
Yes.
On the government budget line, it is Federal Trio Program. Guess how much money he took away from the Federal Trio Program in his proposed budget? All of it.
Right.
Every penny. And you know, I'm a product of Uncle Bound. I used to be the program director for Uncle Bound at Clark University. That money gives HBCUs direct access to students. It's a pipeline for individuals in middle school, junior high, and high school. He took all of that money away.
Now here's the point. See, this is what I heard. I heard you say about alternative facts. Let me give you an example of because people know. I really want this to get out there. If you learn nothing else tonight, learn this. Alternative facts was put out there by the media to make you think that they're lies. Listen to me. Alternative facts.
It was created by the Trump campaign.
No, it wasn't. Listen to me, please. Can I finish? Can I finish? Kellyanne Conway said alternative facts. The media has taken that to mean, which is why you yelled it out, to be a lie. Now, alternative facts, this is what alternative facts mean.
Okay.
How many in here believe that 1 in 3 black men 18 to 34 are somehow tied to the criminal justice system? Raise your hand if you believe that. That's something people talk about. None of you believe that? Okay, fair. You do believe that. I know you do because you've all said it. Well, the alternative fact, not the lie, the alternative fact is 2 of 3 are not. But if you run with 1 of 3 are, you're able to paint a narrative about black men that doesn't exist. So, but let me go back to the HBCUs real quick. That's what I made up. How did I make that up? Come on, Jim, don't do that.
No,
Let me say this.
We're not going to talk about Trump no more. We're done with that.
Okay.
We're dealing with the mayor's race.
He
now.
did not cut HBCUs.
You know what I'm saying? Listen,
HBCUs kept the same money. First of all, the budget hasn't been passed. This is a short budget that Trump put out, which was his ideas and his administration's ideas for the budget. And in that budget, the HBCUs get the same amount of money that they were getting before, which is not a cut if you cut the rest of education, which is what they did. So please, if I give my wife $5 every week and I say, baby, we're going to cut the budget in the household, and I keep giving her $5, I never cut the $5.
No more money.
Let's turn our attention to the Atlanta mayor's race. This has been, we have 8, 9 candidates running. Right now, reportedly, Mary Norwood is in the lead with the 28%. We don't, and one of the leading fundraisers. Yes, you have 8 other pretty darn good candidates running. I mean, it seems like this would be a very competitive race. Your thoughts on where we are and what do you think the primary issue is in this race? Many of you I've talked to right here always mention gentrification. Is that the primary issue leading into this November election?
All right, so I go. This will be a competitive race. I do have some issue with the Mary Norwood poll. It was done by a conservative pollster. Those numbers are usually used to bolster fundraisers. Okay, so I question if she's really at 28.6% and Vincent Ford at 9.4%, whatever it had. But this will be a competitive race. I think gentrification will be a top issue, only because we're feeling the direct effects of it, and it's kind of at its height right now. And so you definitely will feel that. Public education will be a hot button issue with school choice and other elements coming into play. Wraparound services for the homeless, that will become an issue as well. But people still want the basics. They want to make sure that they have jobs, that they have livable wages, and they have a decent place to stay that's safe. All right, that is safe.
I will tell you this, I'm not making any endorsement. This is not an endorsement, but if Jim and you remember years ago when Newsmakers was in its infancy, I was at another place on a stage. I predicted at around the same time when Kasim Reed was at the bottom of the polls that he was going to be the mayor, and he was going to be the mayor. So I will make this prediction here. The race is going to come down. I'm just saying that to go back to your point, is that I don't know what I'm talking about, but I usually do. And the history, the proof is in the pudding. But I believe this race is going to come down to a runoff between Mary Norwood and Vincent Ford. And the reason why I say that is because those are the only candidates of all the announced candidates who don't share a base of support. Mary Norwood's base of support is her base of support. Vincent Ford's base of support is his base of support. And I think everyone else in the race shares a base of support. So I think it's going to come down between the two of them, and I think Atlanta then is going to make a decision on what
Mayor Reed's repudiation of him, a denouncement of him.
I think that increases his popularity.
No, it helps him with his crowd.
He wants Kasim Reed to attack him every single day.
I kind of agree with you based on the statistical numbers. Here's how it works. Mary Norwood is kind of the populist candidate for whites. Vincent Ford is the populist candidate for progressives, for white liberals, etc. He's the guy who is saying, let's legalize marijuana.
Decriminalize.
Decriminalize.
There's a difference.
Decriminalize marijuana. He's the guy who's saying, let's make Atlanta an official sanctuary city. He said on my show last week, I want college, if you graduated from an Atlanta public school, I want college for you to be free for at least 2 years. He's the only guy saying these things. So that is a populist message. He's running a populist candidacy. And
Bernie Sanders in the
right. And he used that Bernie Sanders leverage to help him tremendously. He raised $250,000 based on one Bernie Sanders email. Bernie Sanders sent out an email, he got $250,000. But let's talk about the money, where he thinks that Vincent Ford will make a runoff. I think if the election was held today, Vincent Ford makes the runoff. All right, with Mary Norwood. But you have to look at what will happen. The fundraising goes to Caesar Mitchell right now. Caesar Mitchell has raised the most money, but he's also spent a significant amount of money. He's been hurt by some scandal that people conflated was connected to him when it wasn't, because his issue was a campaign issue. City Hall's issue was a rigging issue of contracts, completely different, but he got the blame for some of it. You have Mary Norwood, who's raised about $400,000 plus. So even though she's number one in the polls, she is not the number one finance getter. She's not the money person. Woolard is up 600.
Well, I mean, I hate to do this to you, but there was a certain woman, Hillary Clinton, who raised billions of dollars and still lost. So money is not the harbinger of winning.
That's my
It's not the harbinger of winning.
That was my actual point. That even though Mary Norwood is at 400,000, Mary Norwood is still number one in all the polling.
Kwanzaa Hall raised the most money within this reporting period. He came from nowhere to raise over $300,000.
Right.
Correct.
I think
Does that portend
I don't think this.
potential
I don't.
electoral clout and money raising clout?
I think it does. I think though this race, and you guys said the issues that you just said, I agree wholeheartedly with. Money doesn't fight those issues. The common African American, and by the way, Mary Norwood only lost that runoff by 700 votes. So clearly she has a huge number of she has a huge number of African American supporters. If you make the mistake of painting Mary as some white Republican from Buckhead who doesn't care about black people, that will reverse itself on you because she's in the community regularly. Right. And I'm not endorsing anybody, but I will say this. The issues come down to this. If you're on a city council, if you're a mayor, if you've been there, and the issue is, I don't know, name one that you guys name, gentrification. How do I sit back and say, what, you're going to fight gentrification and you allowed it to happen in the first place? Or let's say it's schools. You're going to now fix the schools and you've been there for years and you weren't able to fix them then? And if the mayor that's been the last two-term mayor, who's been at war with Atlanta Public Schools, anybody that he supports can't tell me they're going to fix the schools. And anybody that he supports, gentrification, it's been under his watch that you knocked down a whole bunch of projects and built $500,000 condos.
Are we just counting anybody? Or are we just counting somebody like Peter Annan? Are we just counting somebody like Keisha Lance Bottoms? I mean, it's early.
She's been put there by the mayor.
Yeah, that's going to hurt her.
Sterling's been put there by the mayor. I was making the argument that John Eves recently got in because of the mayor. And they're all been put there to hurt Caesar. And I mean, I'm looking at the lay of the land. Why does a one-term congresswoman, a city councilwoman, think that she can win the a local citywide race? She never ran citywide.
It's a very interesting
She has run citywide, but I'm saying she's a one-term councilman.
It's a very interesting play. Let us not forget this. The reason why Kasim Reed won in that runoff was because of the Georgia Democratic Party. Let's talk about what they did that they had never done before. The Georgia Democratic Party, they do not historically get involved in city council races because city council races are nonpartisan races. In the runoff, I was working for the Georgia Democratic Party. I became the political director later for the Democratic Party. What they did is they sent out a mailer to tens and thousands of people throughout the city of Atlanta. And they told all these Democrats who had supported Mary Norwood the first time that she was actually a Republican, that her husband gave money to the Republican Party. This was all the mailer. All the mailer. Out of all of those tens of thousands of people that mailer went to, you don't think at least 700 people changed their mind.
But here's the thing.
I don't think the party is going to get involved like that again because it was not a symbiotic relationship once Kasim Reed became mayor. He did.
And that's all you did. I mean, if Mary Norwood would have gone to an historical black church that had been there for hundreds of years and threatened them with eminent domain to build $1 billion football stadium,
we absolutely would have said she was racist.
Absolutely, you would have. Absolutely. Without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
And I'm not endorsing anybody. I'd like to see Vincent Ford versus Mary Norwood because then the city of Atlanta and its residents
can
make a decision between a real choice between two people.
That's the real choice.
What surprises me, we rarely hear Caesar's name mentioned. Here's a guy with the most political capital and the most money. I mean, the city council president. But rarely is he mentioned in the breadth of many people he's talked to about a possible winner.
I think he is a possible winner. I think he's a possible winner. I think Kwanzaa Hall is a possible winner as well. Remember, during the first time Kasim Reed ran, he was right now at 3.8%. So let's not forget how far he came because one, his ground game was immaculate. He had over 300 canvassers every day knocking on doors, and it transitioned his narrative. So I think that will have to happen with Kwanzaa. That will have to happen with Caesar Mitchell as well. And they actually are now getting the money to do it.
Here's the difference, though, and I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying the difference. The difference is then you really only had Kasim. We worked with Jesse Spikes, but he wasn't a top-tier candidate. Lisa Borders had dropped out, then made the mistake, got back in. At that point, she was left behind. That was done already. And then Caesar, after about 2 months from now, Caesar made the quick announcement he was running for city council president and dropped out of the mayor's race or contention for the mayor's race. So the difference was it came down to the strongest young black candidate. Remember now, we just came off the heels of November, right before that, the November before, when Barack Obama got elected.
Yeah.
So there was a whole lot of headwind behind a young brother like that. I think this time, and I say this again and again, this time, to answer your question about Caesar, and I love Caesar. I hope Caesar is there at the end. But the thing is, in the voter's mind, your everyday voter, they don't see Caesar any differently than they see Kassim. And so if you had issues with Kassim, then you're going to have issues with Caesar.
They both represent City
They
Hall.
both represent the same thing.
The black faces are getting a lot of the blame for the corruption coming out of City Hall. Mary Norwood is immune to that stigma because she's a white female.
But also, she's on city council.
Yeah, but she's
that doesn't
not
stick to her.
getting-
No, it doesn't stick. Well, it doesn't stick to her because she's been quote unquote fighting City Hall for decades.
But she hasn't.
Well, I mean, but that's
She says she has.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the. If you're not there, then you're not there. You know. And Vincent Ford has that same battle
That's his
cry
campaign,
too.
yeah.
That's his whole campaign. Look at these guys that have been rigging cities. And if you and the thing is, it's not whether anybody did anything illegal or anything, because I don't think that's going to come down to it. I think the people who did something wrong will get caught and it won't be tied to any of these politicians. But if you're not one of the connected in this city, it is virtually impossible to get any business done. And people know that. People know that. There's no secret if you don't know Jackson hospitality guy who runs the entire apparatus in the state of Georgia for black people. If you don't know him, you're not getting a contract at the airport. I mean, we know this. It's not corrupt. It's not nasty. It's not illegal. But you know what you know.
They're the players.
They're the players. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just telling the truth.
Black elected officials come to the end here. Well, have we seen our last black mayor? Is this the coup d'etat?
I believe that you may have. And I don't think it's because, I think it's because of our own fault. You had a base of support at Bankhead and Carver Heights and Bankhead, all these projects. You had your base.
Right. And we got rid of
Under Shirley Franklin, you moved in Renee Glover, Atlanta Housing Authority, you dropped these projects, you dispersed the black people throughout the diaspora of the metro Atlanta area, and now you moved in a condo of $500,000 owners, and now you're sitting around saying, oh, where's my black support? Well, what did you threw them out? You threw them out. And now, when you don't have a black mayor, the problem's going to become, I'm not going to say it's the white man's fault or anything like that, you move people out. You physically move them out.
Yeah.
So this could be
I concur.
this, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's do the audience.
Excuse me?
Let's do the audience. Let's take some questions. Let me have your mic on.
Yes, sir.
And you what's the name?
Yes, Mr. Welcome. You can have my microphone.
Thank you. I'm glad you recognize who you're talking to.
See, now you want to talk that?
All right. Let me just say a couple of things. We're going to take some questions from the audience, because I think all of you want to chime in on this. Anybody want to chime in on this? Going once? Going twice?
We'll say it out.
Well, they really put it down, didn't they?
Show's over.
Going good. All right. I want to chime in. Here's the thing. There's a bunch of facts that you guys are quoting that really don't make sense. Now, let me tell you why. As you know, newsmakers on the first go-around endorsed Mary Norwood. We endorsed Mary Norwood. The only reason Mary Norwood didn't win that election was that she was afraid to go down that Cascade corridor during the last 2 weeks of the election. She was winning, but she refused to walk down there. Whereas Kassim unleashed the wolves on the Cascade corridor. You follow me?
Now, what doesn't make sense that I've said?
Okay, now I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. I'm saying what
That's what you said.
I said a lot of the things that were said didn't make sense. For instance, a real good example of what I saw happening out here. Y'all talking about Caesar doesn't have the ground game or something of that magnitude. That what you guys don't know, Caesar Mitchell has been raising money for regular people via his wife Soros and all that.
Jim, what makes you think I don't know that?
Well, because you indicated, I didn't say you, I'm not picking you out in particular, I'm just saying in general.
I didn't say nothing bad about Caesar's ground game.
What
So
I'm
you had
saying.
No, I didn't say anything bad about the ground game either, because I'm against campuses that are knocking
No,
on
what
doors.
I'm saying is that this cat is out here, and he's been out here strong. Just because he's not in the papers does not mean he's not in the hood. And that's my point.
Who's saying that? Nobody said
Nobody
that.
said that.
We're talking about from the perspective of him being competitive with the other candidates. I've been on Caesar Mitchell for years. He was helping fundraisers for me at the Democratic Party.
Talk about competitiveness.
So him being competitive with some of these other guys, what Caesar said, what Shelley said about him having a shared base, that's just political fact.
No, I'm not
he
talking
shares
about,
a base
what I'm
with some of the other candidates that Vincent Ford won't share with him, and that Mary Norwood won't share with him.
Well, I disagree.
And my point
I disagree with the assessment that Caesar is identified by the masses as part of that institution.
Well, some people have, but see, I actually get the
I really do believe that part of
and the reason, let me just say the reason I'm saying that. I've been to, over the last year probably, or my wife or my daughter has gone to at least 4 fundraisers for Caesar among those sorors and those educators and some really grassroots people in the city. A lot of that, I was surprised to see the nature of the people in the room for Caesar. I expected to see a more elitist crowd, which I didn't.
Right. All right,
Okay, so my point being is that the racial man, and then there's another factor that nobody's taking into consideration.
Well, let's deal with one.
Let me just get this second part out. This is very
Okay.
important.
All right.
You have a white woman in Mary Norwood running for mayor, but you have a white man in Peter Almond running for mayor. Don't discount that white male influence in America right now. I think that in some white quarters among white males, they'd rather have anybody other than a white woman.
Well, that's true for some people, but I don't think that's
I'm saying you're just throwing something out.
Yeah, I don't think that's
basis in
statistically
fact.
true
There's no basis in
overall.
fact.
I'm talking about literally what in this country is the general feeling.
Yeah, we're talking about the city of Atlanta.
Okay.
And in the city of Atlanta, that's an entirely different conversation. Let me say this.
She wouldn't have lost by 740 votes if
Jim,
that would have came.
allow me to say this about Caesar Mitchell. Caesar Mitchell's candidacy absolutely has been connected to the corruption at City Hall. And the reason, even though it's wrongfully connected, the reason why I know that is because I've had callers call my show. I've had people email me and inbox me on Facebook asking, is this the same thing? When I had a conversation with LA, who works for Caesar Mitchell, LA came to me and said, Rashad, people are thinking that the corruption from City Hall, is connected to the campaign disclosure report of Caesar Mitchell. I said, here's what we'll do, LA. Have him come on my show. We'll make sure that we stop people from conflating the two and explain the difference. And that's exactly what Caesar Mitchell did.
My thing is, I say in the minds of many voters, they're one and the same. If I have it, and I said this clearly, if I have as a voter a problem with Kasim, I don't see the next African American lawyer, well-rounded, well-spoken, connected to the business power structure, being anything different than Kasim. He might be entirely different. I know Caesar personally, I know he's different. I'm saying in the mind of the voter, when I go to the polls, you're not going to tell me I need to elect just the African American anymore, because the guy that was just there for 8 years did everything but take care of African Americans.
Well, this is Atlanta, and if you believe that, all I can say
I
is
don't
that
believe it. I'm telling you what the voter says.
Atlanteans, black Atlanteans, no matter what you may think, will come out en masse to make another black man the mayor of the city. Now, whether or not they get outvoted by white people and others is another thing. But I promise you that 98% of the black vote will vote for a black candidate.
Yeah, but that wasn't even
in the city of Atlanta. No, I'm just responding to what you said.
But that wasn't even the case
That last time.
98%
So you
of
can't
black
say
people
that this
didn't
time.
Yeah, it did.
No, it
No,
didn't.
98% of black
Mary
people
Norwood
did
got
not
about
vote
20%
for
of the
black.
black vote.
She got less than 20%. She got about 30. I think Erica's here right now.
All right, we can do the stats on it, but 98% of black folk don't even vote Democrat.
Of black folks she got?
She received like 21% of the
Thank you,
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, sister.
All right, well, see, we got.
No, we're just not going to throw shit out that we think we know.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no. But at the end of the day, that's what happened, and she lost. And she lost for the reason that I
I'm
said.
mad at you, Jim. You got me agreeing with this guy.
Yeah, but you guys, listen. That was my object to prove that you guys are one and the same.
Thank